The early years. Our first gig was quite good, despite some minor mistakes. We found it hard to gather everyone for rehearsals. When we finally got together, we spent more time arguing than rehearsing. Some of the guys in the band wanted to focus on the music, whereas we, the performers, wanted to concentrate on the show and have the band to support our act. Excuse me. We never made it to a second gig. We split up. The musicians continued on their own separate paths, with only Bård on the didgeridoo remaining with us. We did shows randomly. The structure of our work was spontaneous and carefree. I brought broken glass and a human pincushion act into the show, and Roberto created new ways of using fire. His eagerness to try out a new stunt without proper preparations resulted in serious second and third degree burns. This put him out of action for some time. He had set fire to his arms and legs, but the padding and wick did not come off quickly enough and were soaked with too much paraffin. The visual effect of it was great, but the result was severe burns. After a while, Bård wanted to take a more active part in the show. We taught him some fire skills, and I gave him a set of large needles and taught him how to pierce them through his flesh and his cheeks. Suddenly, and without any warning, Roberto decided to quit. The fact that he told me the same day that we were performing at the festival made our relationship quite tense. I think one of his reasons to quit was that I insisted on taking our performance more seriously and spend more time rehearsing. And then there's a picture of Robert right there. Little digression there. He is is a good friend, long-term friend. We've had our differences, and everything is squared up, and we are good friends now. He's also my neighbor. We live in the same building. Roberto did the shows for fun and had no interest in putting too much effort into it. He thought I was too ambitious. Now the group was down to Bård and me. I cannot say we made much progress in the quality of the show, but we did get more gigs, and people seemed to enjoy our performance. What we presented was new in Norway. The media took an interest, and the audience gave us good feedback. We got a growing amount of work and acknowledgement. In order to improve my stage performance, I attended workshops in street theater, mime, clowning, and acting. This gave me material and vocabulary, which helped in forming a better character, stage character, that is. I knew the presentation of the stunts had to improve if Pain Solution was to have a future. In 1995, I went back to Brazil with Monica and Kai, much because our intention was to live partly in both countries. Monica is Brazilian, and Kai was born in Brazil. But also because I had the opportunity to attend classes at the Institute of Scenic Arts at the University of Brasilia. Before leaving, I encouraged Bård to improve his acting skills, as the gap between us was already big. I wanted him to take the work seriously and invest some time on developing a stage character. When I came back, Bård told me he had spent all his time developing his musical talent and no time on acting. I had learned a lot and felt we were following different paths. We agreed upon going our separate ways. So now I was alone. I changed the name to Pain Solution without the ink. I did have experience in performing solo. My challenge was to add new material to the show and expand it alone. During the time I had stayed in Brazil, I met Paulucci, who attended several of the same classes as me at the university. During improvisations in our acting class, we found that we communicated well through our bodies. Paulucci was searching for a physical expression and showed great interest in my work with Pain Solution, and he kept asking me to teach him my skills. But I wasn't sure if he really had it in him. I could teach him fire eating and fire blowing, but from that to jumping in broken glass and piercing needles through the flesh is a huge step. I believe that in order to learn such things, one needs to have the right urge, to have it. We decided to give a performance at our professor's birthday party. During that 40-minute improvisation chained to each other by our necks, I realized that if someone had it was Paulucci. So we spent more time in each other's company, and we learned from one another, and we developed the performance Eleuteria. When I was back in Norway, things were rather slow. It seemed like I had to start all over again in getting the contacts and the gigs. And one day I received a call from Paulucci asking if it would be all right if he came to Norway. He wanted to continue working with me and was prepared to leave everything else behind. Shortly after he arrived in Oslo, we picked up where we had left our work in Brazil. Paulucci's influence on me made Pain Solution move in a new direction. His body language gave me something to strive for. We concentrated our work on developing a language of physical theater, using the fire, glass, and other pain elements as means to transmit a story in our plays. Show you a picture of Paulucci there. And I think he's also on the next page. Yes, he is. This is an image from the performance Eleuteria. At the time, this is early years continued. At the time, we earned our livings by selling our performances to clubs, parties, and raves. Without doubt, both of us developed a lot during this period. Unfortunately, we found the shows we presented at our own venue, Teaterverkstedet, were too costly. This work was artistically more challenging than the shows we did for money. We had long discussions on whether it would be right or wrong to put more effort into commercializing our art. I felt we needed to make more money on the shows we presented and stop spending so much time on our in our own theater and with our own physical theater productions. I would rather pay my bills with the income from our shows than having to get a steady day job. And eventually, Paulucci agreed. Sadly, our time working together came to a brutal end all too soon. Paulucci had overstayed his visa in Norway, and immigration sent him back to Brazil. Next chapter is called The Development. But before I start reading, let me show you the warning, graphic pictures. This is bloody. This is Katrina, who she will be presented later on in the text as I keep reading the development. And this is a young me having cut myself on some broken glass on the chest and getting a small hook inserted into my chest with a weight on it. And then there's another image also of me and Katrina in a performance. It's my sister's old car. That was long gone, so I used it as a prop and could trash it even more. And here I'm showering Katrina with a big bucket load of broken glass. Fun times. The development. Let me just see how many pages it is before I start. Okay, no, this is a long chapter. I think I will make this chapter its own little recording instead of making the current one very long. If you're enjoying so far, please let me know if it's worth my time and yours for me to keep reading chapters from 10 Years of Pain.